NEC Section 110.26. C3 addresses accessible areas above hung ceilings and mandates permanent provisions for lighting and servicing. These provisions are designed to ensure the safety and accessibility of equipment located in these spaces. The code specifies several requirements for compliance. Firstly, a fixed ladder or stairway must be provided to access the area above the hung ceiling. This ensures a safe and stable means of reaching the equipment for maintenance or repair. Secondly, a door or other access point, not less than 22 inches wide and 30 inches high, must be provided. This access point allows personnel to physically enter the space above the ceiling to perform necessary tasks. Thirdly, a permanent lighting fixture that is not readily detachable is required. This fixture must be in addition to the lighting outlet provided for the ceiling proper. The purpose of this permanent fixture is to provide adequate illumination for servicing and maintenance activities. However, the code makes an exception. Such permanent lighting is not required if the area is provided with a lighting outlet or means for supplying readily detachable or portable sources of illumination. This portable illumination must be individual for the area and within reach of persons servicing the lighting. This exception recognizes that in some cases, portable lighting may be a more practical and efficient solution. It is important to note that the intent of this code section is to ensure that the area above the hung ceiling is safely accessible and adequately illuminated for servicing and maintenance purposes. The specific requirements may vary depending on the installation and the local interpretation of the code. It is recommended to consult with a qualified electrical inspector or engineer to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. The code section 110.26 outlines workspace requirements about electrical equipment. Section 110.26. It discusses working space and requires sufficient access and working space be provided and maintained around all electrical equipment to permit ready and safe operation and maintenance of such equipment. Section 110.26. 8.1 discusses dimensions and states that the depth of the working space and the direction of access to lift parts operating at 600 volts or less to ground should not be less than that specified in Table 110.26. 8.1. Distances are measured from the live parts if such are exposed or from the enclosure front or opening if such are enclosed. Concrete, brick, or tile walls are considered as grounded. In Condition 1, where there are exposed live parts on one side and no grounded parts on the other side of the working space, the minimum clear distance for 0 to 150 volts to ground is 3 feet, for 151 to 600 volts to ground is 3 feet. In Condition 2, where there are exposed live parts on one side and grounded parts on the other side of the working space, for 0 to 150 volts to ground it is 3 feet, for 151 to 600 volts to ground it is 3.5 feet. In Condition 3, where there are exposed live parts on both sides of the working space not guarded is provided in Section 110.27. The minimum clear distance for 0 to 150 volts to ground is 3 feet, for 151 to 600 volts to ground is 4 feet. Section 110.26. A2 covers entrance to working space, and it says that at least one entrance of sufficient area to give access to the working space must be provided. For equipment rated 1200 amps or more and containing overcurrent devices, switching devices, or control devices, there must be at least one entrance not less than 24 inches wide and 6.5 feet high at each end of the working space. Where the location permits a continuous and unobstructed way of exit travel, the required entrance is permitted to be located at one end of the working space. Section 110.26. A3 covers front working space, and it states that where working space is required in front of electrical equipment, the space must not be used for storage. When normally enclosed live parts are exposed for inspection or service purposes, the working space, if it a passageway or general open space, must be suitably guarded. Section 110.26. B covers clear headroom and says that the minimum headroom of working spaces around service equipment, switchboards, panel boards, or motor control centers must be 6.5 feet high. Section 110.26. C covers access and working space and states that access and working space required by this section must be provided to all electrical equipment. Section 110.26. C1 covers routing of raceways, cables, and so forth, and says that raceways, cables, and other equipment can't be installed in or through the dedicated electrical space running from the floor to a height of 6 feet above the equipment or to the structural ceiling, whichever is lower. Also, pipes and ductwork foreign to the electrical installation cannot enter or pass through this dedicated space. This doesn't prohibit suspended ceilings with removable panels. Section 110.26. C2 covers equipment guarded for personnel protection, and it says that electrical equipment that might require examination, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance while energized must be field marked with a warning sign indicating the presence of live parts. Section 110.26. C3 covers illumination. Accessible areas above hung ceilings must be provided with permanent provisions for lighting and servicing. These provisions include firstly, a fixed ladder or stairway, secondly, a door or other access not less than 22 inches wide and 30 inches high providing access to the area above the ceiling, and thirdly, a permanent lighting fixture not readily detachable in addition to the lighting outlet provided for the ceiling proper. Such lighting isn't required if the area is provided with a lighting outlet or means for supplying readily detachable or portable sources of illumination individual for the area and within reach of persons servicing the lighting. Section 110.26. C4 covers headroom, and it says that the minimum headroom for working spaces containing equipment operating at 1000 volts or less must be a minimum of 3 feet. Section 110.26. D covers the space in front of equipment, and it says that the working space must be clear and extend from the floor to the height required by 110.26. E. Not less than what is described in Table 110.26. A1 where live parts are exposed. In all cases, the working space must allow at least a 90-degree opening of equipment doors or hinged panels. Section 110.26. E covers dedicated equipment space and says that all switchboards, panel boards, distribution boards, and motor control centers must be located in dedicated spaces and protected from damage. Section 110.26. E1 covers indoor, and it says that indoor electrical equipment must be located in a dedicated electrical room or enclosed space. It can't be exposed to physical damage and must be protected from any equipment or systems foreign to the electrical equipment covered by this section. Section 110.26. E1. It covers suspended ceilings and states that a dropped, suspended, or similar ceiling is not considered to violate the dedicated electrical space. Section 110.26. E1. B covers foreign systems and states that foreign systems are permitted above switchboards, panel boards, distribution boards, and motor control centers where protected to prevent damage to the equipment. Section 110.26. E2 covers outdoor, and it states that outdoor electrical equipment must be installed in a suitable enclosure and must be protected from physical damage. Section 110.27 covers guarding of live parts, and 110.27. It covers live parts guarded against accidental contact. It states that except as elsewhere required or permitted by this code, live parts of electrical equipment operating at 50 volts or more must be guarded against accidental contact by approved enclosures or by location in a room, vault, or similar enclosure accessible only to qualified persons or by elevation of 8 feet or more above the floor or the working surface or in a manner that will be guarded against accidental contact. Section 110.27. B covers guarding of rotating equipment, and it says that moving parts of electrical equipment like motors must be guarded to protect personnel. Section 110.28 covers electrical equipment identification, and it says that electrical equipment must be legibly marked to indicate its purpose unless located and arranged so the purpose is evident.